Rigveda 9.101 Soma Pavamana, 16 verses. For the first possession of your juice, for the exhilarating drink, drive ye away the dog, my friends, drive ye the long-tongued dog away. He who a purifying stream effused comes flowing hitherward. Indu is like an able steed, the men with all-pervading song send unassailable Soma forth, by pressing stones to sacrifice the Somas very rich in sweets, for which the sieve is destined flow. Effuse the source of Indra's joy. May your strong juices reach the gods. Indu flows on for Indra's sake. Thus have the deities declared. The Lord of speech exerts himself, ruler of all because of might, inciter of the voice of song. With thousand streams the ocean flows. Even Soma, lord of opulence, the friend of Indra, day by day, as Pushan, fortune, Bhaga, comes this Soma while they make him pure. He, lord of the multitude, hath looked upon the earth and heaven. The deer cows load in joyful mood together to the gladdening drink. The drops, as they were purified, the Soma juices made then paths. O Pavamana, bring the juice, the mightiest worthy to be famed, which the 5 tribes have over them, whereby we may win opulence. For us the Soma juices flow, the drops best furtherers of our weal, effused as friends without a spot, benevolent finders of the light. Effused by means of pressing stones upon the ox-hide visible, they treasure finders have announced food unto us from every side. These Soma juices, skilled in song, purified, blent with milk and curd, when moving and when firmly laid in oil, resemble lovely suns. Let not the power of men restrain the voice of the outpouring juice. As Brigu's sons chased Makka, so drive ye the greedy hound away. The friend hath wrapped him in his robe as in his parents' arms, a son. He went as lover to a dame to take his station suitor-like. That hero who produces strength, he who hath propped both worlds apart, gold-hued, hath wrapped him in the sieve, to settle priest-like in his place. Soma upon the ox's skin, through the sheep's wool, flows purified. Bellowing out, the tawny steer goes on to Indra's special place. M-A-K-H-A is perhaps the origin of Nargargal Shlod's M-E-K-A, and people aren't masters just because they have ability, it's because they use their ability. Hymn 9.102, Soma Pavamana, 8 verses. The child, when blended with the streams, speeding the plan of sacrifice, surpasses all things that are dear, yea, from of old. The place near the 2 pressing stones of Trikta hath he occupied, secret and dear through 7 lights of sacrifice, urged to 3 courses on the heights of Trikta, riches in a stream. He who is passing wise measures his courses out. Even at his birth the mother's 7 taught him for glory like a sage, so that he, firm and sure, hath set his mind on wealth. Under his sway of one accord are all the guileless deities, warriors to be envied. They, when they are pleased, the babe whom they strengthen law, have generated fair to see, much longed for at the sacrifice, most liberal sage. To him united of themselves come the young parents of the right, when they adorn him, duly weaving sacrifice with wisdom and with radiant eyes, unbar to us the stall of heaven, speeding at solemn rite the plan of holy law. And the will of divinity is done at any occasion, right? But there's a difference when we are willingly submitting and when we surrender without a choice. Hymn 903, Soma Pavamana, 6 verses. To Soma who is purified, is ordering priest, the songs raised. Bring mead as 'twere to one who makes thee glad with hymns. Blended with milk and curds, he flows on through the long wool of the sheep. The golden-hued purified makes him 3 seats for rest. On through the long wool of the sheep, to the meath-dropping vat he flows. The riches 7-fold choir has sung aloud to him, shared by all gods infallible, leader of our holy hymns. Golden-hued Soma, being cleansed, hath reached the bowls. After thy godlike qualities, associate with Indra, go as a priest purified by priests, immortal one, like a car horse who shows his strength, a god effused for deities. The penetrating Pavamana flows along. And we see seats like this in some ritual chambers, and it's like, well, progressing the seats. It comes from something, right? Now, a lot of these are generally just men's orders, although they have mystical reference. It's not really about mysticism. But character development, that's still there, right? Hymn 9.104, Soma Pavamana, 6 verses. Sit down, O friends, and sing aloud to him who purifies himself. Deck him for glory like a child with holy rites. Unite him, bringing household wealth, even as a calf with mother kind. Him who hath double strength, the God, delighting juice. Purify him who gives us power, that he, most blessed one, may be a banquet for the troop. Mitra and Varuna, voices have sung aloud to thee as finder out of wealth for us. We clothe the hue thou wearest with a robe of milk. Thou Indu art, the food of gods, O sovereign of all gladdening drinks. As friend for friend, be thou, best finder of success. Drive utterly away from us each demon, each voracious fiend, the godless and the false. Keep sorrow far away. Now, friends for friends, or what was that guy's screen name or whatever? I wonder if it relates to this or whether it relates to, how on Facebook and all that stuff you have friends of friends listening. Hymn 905, 6 verses. Sing ye aloud, O friends, to him who makes him pure for gladdening drink. They shall make sweet the child with sacrifice and laud. Like as a calf with mother cows, so Indu is urged forth and sent. Glorified by our hymns, the God-delighting juice, effectual means of power is he. He is a banquet for the troop. He who hath been effused most rich in meath for gods, flow to us Indu passing strong, effused. With wealth of kine and steeds I will spread forth above the milk thy radiant hue, Lord of the tawny, Indu, thou who art the gods' most special food, as friend to friend, for splendor, be thou good to men. Drive utterly far away from us each godless, each voracious foe. O Indu, overcome and drive the false afar. One of the things that we have is like, how can you have this total respect for God if you don't respect God's servants? If you don't respect the place of worship? And how can we, as devotees, look at those who, go after places of worship and have a treaty with them, right? Because they've obviously, well, we can, but then they violated the first term, right? By doing that. Hymn 906, Soma Pavamana, 14 verses. To Indra, to the mighty steer, may these gold-colored juices go, drops rapidly produced, that find the light of heaven. Effused this juice, victorious flows for Indra. For his maintenance, Soma bethinks him of the conqueror, as he knows. May Indra in his raptures gain from him the grasp that gathers spoil, and winning waters, wield the steer-strong thunderbolt. Flow vigilant for Indra, thou Soma, yea, Indu, run thou on, bring hither splendid strength that finds the light of heaven. Do thou, all beautiful, purify for Indra's sake the mighty juice, pathmaker thou far seeing, with 1,000 ways, best finder of prosperity for us, most rich in sweets for gods, proceed thou, loudly roaring on 1,000 paths. O Indu, with thy streams in might flow for the banquet of the gods, rich in meat. Soma, in our beaker take thy place. Thy drops that swim in water have exalted Indra to delight. The gods have drunk thee up for immortality. Stream opulence to us. Ye drops of Soma, pressed and purified, pouring down rain from heaven in hoods, and finding light, Soma, when filtered, with his wave flows through the long wool of the sheep. Shouting while purified before the voice of song, with songs they send the mighty forth. Sporting in wood above the fleece, our psalms have glorified him of the triple height. Into the jars hath he been loosed, like an impetuous steed for war, and lifting up his voice while filtered, glided on. Gold-hued and lovely in his course, through tangles of the wool he flows, and pours heroic fame upon the worshippers. Flow thus, a faithful votary, the streams of Meath have been effused. Thou comest to the filter, singing from each side. Particularly when one gets into polytheism, one finds that exposure to the sun and moon and other witnessing becomes important. Hymn 907, Soma Pavamana, 26 verses. Hence sprinkle forth the juice effused, Soma, the best of sacred gifts, who, friend of man, hath run amid the water streams. He hath pressed Soma out with stones, now being purified, flow hither through the fleece and violet and most odorous, will gladden thee in waters when thou art effused, blending thee still with juice and milk, pressed out for all to see, delighting God's Indu far-sighted one, is mental power. Cleansing thee, Soma, in thy stream, thou flowest in a watery robe, giver of wealth, thou sittest in the place of law, O God, a fountain made of gold, milking the heavenly udder, for dear Meath he hath set in the ancient gathering place, washed by the men, the strong, far-seeing one, streams forth nutritious food that all desire, O Soma, while they cleanse thee, dear and watchful, in the sheep's long wool. Thou hast become a singer most like Angeros. Thou madest Surya mount to heaven, bountiful, best of furtherers. Soma floweth on, Risha and singer, keen of sight. Thou hast become a sage most welcome to the gods. Thou madest Surya mount to heaven. Pressed out by pressers, Soma goes over the fleecy backs of sheep, goes even as with a mare in tawny-colored stream, goes in exhilarating stream, down to the water Soma, rich and kind, hath flowed with cows that have been milked. They have approached the mixing vessel as a sea, the cheerer streams for the carouse. Effused by stones, O Soma, and urged through the long wool of the sheep, now entering the saucers as a man the fort, gold-hued, hath settled in the wood. He beautifies himself through the sheep's long fine wool, like an impetuous steed in war, even Soma Pavamana, who shall be the joy of sages and of holy bards. O Soma, for the feast of gods, river-like, he hath swelled with surge, with the stock's juice, exhilarating, resting not into the vat that draughts with Meath, like a dear son who must be decked. The lovely one hath clad him in a shining robe. Men skilful at their work drive him forth, like a car into the rivers from their bands. The living drops of Soma juice pour as they flow, the gladdening drink, intelligent drops above the basin of the sea, exhilarating finding light. May Pavamana, king and god, speed with his wave over the sea, the lofty right. May he by Mitra's and Varuna's decree flow furthering the lofty right. Far-seeing, lovely, guided by the men. The god whose home is in the sea, Soma, the gladdening juice, flows pressed for Indra with his Marut host. He hastens o'er the fleece with all his thousand streams. Men make him bright and beautiful, purified in the bowl, engendering the hymn, wise Soma joys among the gods. Robed in the flood, the mighty one hath clad himself with milk and settled in the vats. O Soma, into every day thy friendship hath been my delight. Many fiends follow me. Help me, thou tawny-hued, pass on beyond these barriers. Close to thy bosom am I. Soma day and night, O tawny-hued, for friendship's sake. Surya himself refulgent with his glow, have we o'ertaken in his course like birds. Deft-handed, thou, when purified, liftest thy voice amid the sea. Thou, Pavamana, makest riches flow to us, yellow, abundant, much desired, making thee pure and bright. In the sheep's long wool, thou hast bellowed, steer-like in the wood. Thou flowest, Soma Pavamana, balmed with milk, unto the special place of gods. Flow on to win us strength, flow on to lofty lore of every kind. Thou, Soma, as exhilarator, wast the first to spread the sea abroad for gods. Flow to the realm of earth, flow to the realm of heaven, O Soma, in thy righteous ways. Fair art thou, whom the sages, O far-seeing one, urged onward with their songs and hymns. Over the cleansing sieve have flowed the Pavamanas in a stream, girt by the Marutas, gladdening steeds with Indra's strength for wisdom and for dainty food. Urged onward by the pressers, clad in watery robes, Indu is speeding to the vat. He, gendering light, hath made the glad cows low, while he takes them as his garb of state. Now, these divine qualities, the spiritual world, manifest them to a degree. Everything in the material world, it's better than everything in the material world. It's the utmost and all that. Hymn 9.108. Soma Pavamana, 16 verses. 4. Indra, flow, thou Soma on, as gladdening juice most sweet, intelligent, great cheering, dwelling most in heaven. Thou of whom having drunk the steer acts like a steer, drinking of this that finds delight, he excellently wise is come to strengthening food, to spoil and wealth like a tassa. For verily, Pavamana, thou hast splendidest called all the generations of the gods to immortality, by whom Davyach Navagva opens fastened doors, by whom the sages gained their wish, by whom they won the fame of lovely Amrita and the felicity of gods. Fused he floweth in a stream, best rapture giver in the long wool of the sheep. Sporting as twere the water's wave, he who from out the rocky cavern took, with might, the red refulgent watery cows. Thou masterest the stable full of kine and steeds, burst it, brave lord, like one in mail. Press ye and pour him like a steed, laudworthy, speeding through the region and the flood, who swims in water, roam in wood, increaser of the water, steer with 1,000 streams, dear to the race of deities, who, born in law, hath waxen mighty by the law. King, God, and lofty ordinance, make splendid glory shine on us. Thou Lord of strengthening food, God as the friend of gods, unclose the fount of middle air, roll onward to the bowls, O mighty one, effused as a prince, supporter of the tribes. Pour on us rain from heaven, send us the waters flow, incite our thoughts to win the spoil. They have drained him, the steer of heaven, with 1,000 streams, distilling rapturous joy, him who brings all things excellent. The mighty one was born immortal, giving life, lightening darkness with his shine. Well praised by sages he hath, by his wondrous power, assumed the threefold as his robe. Effused is he who brings good things, who brings us bounteous gifts and sweet refreshing food. Soma who brings us quiet homes. He whom our Indra and Marut host shall drink. Bhaga shall drink with Aryaman, by whom we bring to us Mitra and Varuna and Indra for our great defense. Soma for Indra's drink do thou, led by the men well weaponed and most gladdening, flow on with the greatest store of sweets. Enter the Soma holder, even Indra's heart, as rivers pass into the sea. Now, it said Roan. I presume they mean Rome. And what was the other? Thou, Bast. I presume they mean hast. And we don't seek experience through substance or otherwise. That's some sort of detraction or whatever. We're using it intelligently. It's something mind expanding, not distracting, as one would say. But a lot of people, they talk about intoxicants that way, and that's not quite. Hymn 9.109, Soma Pavamana, 22 verses. Pleasant to Indra's Mitra, Pushan Bhaga's taste, sped onward. Soma with thy flowing stream let Indra drink, O Soma, of thy juice for wisdom and all deities for strength. So flow thou on as bright celestial juice. Flow to the vast, immortal dwelling place. Flow onward, Soma, as a mighty sea. As father of the gods to every form, flow on, O Soma, radiant for the gods in heaven and earth, and bless our progeny. Thou bright juice art sustainer of the sky. Flow mighty in accordance with true law. Soma, flow splendid with thy copious stream through the great fleece, as in the olden time. Born, led by men, joyous and purified, let the light finder make all blessings flow. Indu, while cleansed, keeping the people safe, shall give us all possessions for our own. Flow on for wisdom, Soma, and for power, as a strong courser bathed to win the prize. The pressers purify this juice of thine, the Soma, for delight and lofty fame. They deck the golden-hued infant, newly born, even Soma, Indu, In the sea for gods, fair Indu hath flowed on for rapturous joy, sage for good fortune in the water's lap. He bears the beauteous name of Indra, that wherewith he overcame all demon foes. All deities are wont to drink of him, pressed by the men, and blent with milk and curds, he hath flowed forth with thousand streams effused, flowed through the filter and the sheep's long wool. With endless genial flow, the strong hath run, purified by the waters, blent with milk, pressed out with stones, directed by the men. Go forth, O Soma, into Indra's throat. The mighty Soma with 1,000 streams is poured to Indra through the cleansing sieve. Indu they balm with pleasant, milky juice for Indra, for the steer, for his delight. Lightly for sheen they cleanse thee for the gods. Gold-colored, whirring water as thy robe. Indu to Indra streams, yea, downward streams, strong flowing to the floods, and mingling there. And like the previous verse, we have this idea that these divine names, divinity is beyond these divine names and the forms and whatnot. Hymn 9.110, Soma Pavamana. Oh, and of course, the animals taking a role, because people are like, oh, it's, us humans are well, the animals are also taking a role in the divine order. Anyways, hymn 910, 12 verses. Soma Pavamana. Overpowering Vritas run forward to win great strength. Thou speedest to subdue like one exacting debts. In thee effused, O Soma, we rejoice ourselves for great supremacy in fight. Thou, Pavamana, enterest into mighty deeds. O Pavamana, thou didst generate the sun and spread the moisture out with power, hastening to us with plenty vivified with milk. Thou didst produce him, deathless God, mid mortal men, for maintenance of law and lovely Amrita. Thou evermore hast moved, making strength flow to us. All round about hast thou with glory pierced for us as 'twere a never-failing well for men to drink, borne on thy way in fragments from the presser's arms. Then, beautifully radiant, certain heavenly ones have sung to him their kinship as they looked thereon, and Savitar the gods opens as 'twere a stall. Soma, the men of old, whose grass was trimmed, address the hymn to thee for mighty strength and for renown. So hero urge us onward to heroic power. They have drained forth from out the great depth of the sky the old primeval milk of heaven that claims the laud. They lifted up their voice to Indra at his birth. As long as thou, O Pavamana, art above this earth and heaven, and all existence in thy might, thou standest like a bull and chief amid the herd. In the sheep's wool have Soma Pavamana flowed, while they cleanse him like a playful infant, Indu with 100 powers and 100 currents, holy and sweet, while purifying this Indu flows on, a wave of pleasant taste to Indra, strength winner, treasure finder, life bestower. So flow thou on, subduing our assailants, chasing the demons, hard to be encountered, well armed in conquering our foes, O Soma. And we think like a creator or a real deity can't be born. So what does this mean? That it's born in our reference, perhaps.